He was a holistic doctor. And he said to me, look, he said, it's a choice. He said, and your choice is you can become a patient. You can get on the medical hamster wheel and take medicine and all those things. He said, or we can start changing your habits and you can start working out more. You can start drinking more water. You can start eating better and eliminating things from your diet that are hurting you. So that's what I did. And I was fine. After a year or so, I was great. So then I said, okay, well, now it's time to make another choice because now I'm 60. So I'm going to start working out seriously again. And I'm going to get stronger and I'm going to run and I'm going to lift and I'm going to see if I can get back to the place where I was when I was 25 years younger.
Welcome to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where people share timeless ideas. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and in every episode we dive into the philosophies, quotes, points, and life lessons that shape how we live, think, and grow. No matter where you are in life, this show is here to remind you wisdom is everywhere and it's always relatable most of the times. Can you tell us your name and share with us what's your favorite quote or philosophy is?
So my name's Joe Owens and I live in scenic Clearwater, Florida. Just relocated from Los Angeles, California. And my sort of general philosophy about life is that it's a series of choices. And you go through your life and you decide what your life is going to be. And I'll give you the example that actually launched this whole Feeling Groovy book idea. From childhood, from teenage years, I had something called SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. And that causes your heart to go fast. So to me, life's always been a series of choices. And I guess the best indication of that, or the best example of that is from teenage years, I had something called SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, which would cause me in a situation like this, for example, just talking to you, my heart would suddenly start doing 180 beats a minute. Now your heart normally does like 76 beats a minute. So it would almost triple. The doctor said it isn't something that would kill you or anything, but it makes you very weak and winded. And I managed it my whole life just by not drinking a lot of alcohol or not a lot of caffeine and doing things that would irritate it. But when I was in my late 50s, almost pushing 60, I was having more and more episodes. And I had a very bad episode. Usually it would last 15 or 20 minutes. This episode lasted 3 days. So they put me in a hospital. They gave me medication to fix it. And so they were eventually able to slow it down, but it was terrifying because the medication had some bad side effects and it was touch and go for a little bit. So after it was all over, the doctors said, well, we want you to have a cardiologist. We want you to go on medication. We want you to, become a patient, and we want you to come to the hospital. And I didn't want to do any of that. So I had a great doctor, like a personal doctor, and he was a holistic doctor. And he said to me, look, he said, it's a choice. He said, and your choice is you can become a patient. You can get on the medical hamster wheel and take medicine and all those things. He said, or we can start changing your habits and you can start working out more. You can start drinking more water. You can start eating better and eliminating things from your diet that are hurting you. So that's what I did. And I was fine. After a year or so, I was great. So then I said, okay, well, now it's time to make another choice because now I'm 60. So I'm going to start working out seriously again. And I'm going to get stronger and I'm going to run and I'm going to lift and I'm going to see if I can get back to the place where I was when I was 25 years younger. And I did. And I did. So when I made that choice to abandon medicine, abandon doctors, and not do any of that nonsense, I got stronger. I got healthier. So now I'm 75. That was 15 years ago. And so now I run 2 miles a day. I'm in the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I'm a writer. I'm a publisher. I'm a movie producer. I do some real estate stuff on the side, and I help my son work in his warehouse in his automotive company. Because I get up in the morning and I go to work because that's my choice. So I just believe that for anybody who wants to do anything, you just need to make a choice. And that's why I wrote the book. The book started out, Feeling Groovy, started out as a workout guide for baby boomers. And then I started talking to baby boomers, and they said, look, we don't want to know about push-ups and sit-ups and stuff. We want to feel young again. So there's a difference between working out and getting healthy and recapturing your youth, feeling like you used to feel when you were young and vibrant. So that's when I started looking into this thing called Ageless Aging. And it's called Feeling Groovy, a boomer guide to ageless aging. And ageless aging is a choice. I want to feel like I used to feel. I don't want to feel old in my mind and also in my body. So the idea of feeling groovy and the idea of making that choice is a mindset choice. It's not a physical choice. Yes, you can put down the potato chips, get off the couch and start doing push-ups, but that's not going to change how you think. Because if all you do every day is get up and garden or go to the mall or something like that, you're going to feel old. If you don't have a purpose anymore, you're going to feel old. You're going to feel like you're not part of the conversation anymore. If you don't know who the movie stars are, if you can't name them, if you don't know how to work technology, if you've just checked out. And what happens is when you do that, people start to treat you differently. They don't treat you as part of the conversation. You become irrelevant and you just start to fade away. But if you make the choice to stay in the game, no matter whether it hurts, and we see that with sports all the time. The guy hurts his ankle. He chooses to stay in the game, even though his ankle hurts. So that's what you need to do. So to me, life's a series of choices. And my choice started with not giving up on physical. And then it's just been, that ever since.
Yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned life is a series of choice. And why you were mentioning that, even though when you did say, even though that you mentioned you're 75, I thought you were actually 50 something, pushing 60. I didn't know that you were 75. Like, I was like, even though you mentioned that you're 75, I got in my mind, I was like, okay, it's about 50 something. Yeah.
Well, it's a number. I mean, it literally doesn't matter. How many birthdays I've had has no real relevance to what I'm capable of doing. And I will acknowledge the fact that I've been blessed. I've been extremely lucky.
Yeah.
So I don't have heart disease. I don't have cancer. I don't have, none of that has happened to me. But I think part of that is I've prevented that from happening to me because I have no time for that. And I talk about it in the book that, I work out. It hurts. I mean, I wake up the next morning. I feel like I've been hit by a car. But I love that. I love the fact that my back hurts and my legs hurt and my arms hurt because I've lifted weights or I've run or I've done something because I'm still doing things. I'm still in the game. So I think it just becomes important for people to understand that life is a choice, and you can choose to feel young. You can choose to whatever you want to do. I mean, if you want to be successful in life, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a good thing
Because
you mentioned the thing about life being a choice, because right now what I'm thinking in my head is that there are a lot of people where they do, and I would use the word pseudo choice, which is false choice, where it looks like they chose something, but they did not actually choose that thing. Where for me, they have to realize that choosing something is not a passive thing. It's an active thing to choose something that, okay, I mean, you could say, oh, I chose to do healthy, I chose to live healthy, I chose to do all that. But the actions speak other. I mean, you chose to do this. You started doing exercise. You started eating well. You started drinking water, doing all these things. It was active. It wasn't, oh, a passive stuff that you're like, okay, yeah, I chose to live healthy. I chose to live. And it's what I want you to do now is what would you characterize to be an actual choice and not something that is a pseudo, a false choice that looks like choice, feels like a choice, but is not a choice. Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Well, we're very good. Human beings are very good at rationalizing things. We are great at rationalizations. So when I talk to some baby boomers about the book and about things, and I would say to them, look, put down the food that's bad for you and pick up the food that's good for you and start eating salads and, start working out. Well, I'd like to, but, I don't have a gym where I live, or, it's too far for me to drive, or I really don't have the time, or the grandkids, or, my lumbago. Like, they're choices. And yes, I choose to work out, but I have all these reasons why I can't. So you've not chosen to work out. You've chosen to tell me that you want to work out, but you have no intention of doing it. And yet you can tell yourself a story and you believe it because it sounds good to you, because it's the outcome that you're looking for. And I try there's a chapter in the book about my mother. And my mother was the 4th person in the United States to have open heart surgery. In 1960, she had surgery. They told her that if she did not have the surgery, she would die in 6 months. If she had the surgery, she could live another 2 years. 2 years became 5 years. 5 years became 10 years. She lived 39 years after that surgery. She actually died on the 39th anniversary of the surgery. But the fun part for me is my mother was very stubborn and very funny. And she told all of the doctors and nurses when they were doing the operation that she would outlive all of them. And she did. The entire surgical team that did the operation in 1960 died before she did. And along the way, she got cancer, she got epilepsy, she had heart attacks, but she just kept going. And I would say to her, well, what's the secret? And she said, keep breathing. And my mother just chose to stay alive. She chose not to die. And because she had ample opportunity to give up and ample reason to give up, because it was hard for her. She was in pain. She was rushed to the hospital every now and again, but she just, no, this is good. I don't like the alternative, so I'm just going to keep going. And if she could do it, anybody can do it. And so that was kind of my role model. That's in my DNA to keep going. And so I try to share this with people when I talk to them. And if you're a baby boomer and you want to feel younger, then you have to do things that are going to make you feel younger. Some of them are going to be unpleasant. Some of them are going to be difficult, but make the choice. And it's okay if you choose not to do it, but you're not going to be healthy. You're not going to, it's not going to work out the way you want. You want to be like me, you have to do what I do. If you want to be 75 years old, run 2 miles a day, work out in the gym, have 4 jobs, then you have to do what I do. And I put it in the book. So read the book, then you can do what I do, and then you can be like me. And, but with all the caveats, go to the doctor, make sure you're okay. If you have a catastrophic illness, I get it, but do as much as you can. I mean, maybe if you have severe back problems, you can't do everything that I do, but make allowances. Get a trainer. The trainer will tell you what you can do. So I think everybody just has to make the choice of what kind of life they want to live. Do you want to work? Do you want to apply yourself? I mean, you could be 25 years old and you're making choices. You want to sit on your parents' couch and play video games, or do you want to go get a job?
Yeah.
It's all and your life, your path is going to be the result of the choices that you make.
Yeah, it's important because I think the choice of words being used here is very, very, very important. Make a choice. So it's not necessarily just talk the choice. Oh, I tell people, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then nothing. It's about you. You have to make it. You have to it's making something is. You have to bring it to life. You have to create it. So it's
Yeah.
not just talking or speaking and say, I'm going to exercise more, I'm going to live health. And I'm like, okay. So when are you going to do that? Actually, what the thing is that, and yeah.
Well, I find there are two kind of people. My son, he's 30, and he runs a company that makes wheels for cars. So, like Lamborghinis and Maseratis, and he has rappers and rock stars and everybody using his wheels on their cars. So he's a bit of a celebrity in that world. he never talks about what he's going to do. He only does things.
Yeah.
He just makes a decision. He does it, and then he tells me about it. I've done this. I'm doing that. I'm changing this. I'm different. I tell people that I'm going to do something because that puts pressure on me to do it. And I use some examples in the book about like when John Kennedy, for example, President JFK, said that we were going to the moon, we kind of had to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you make an announcement that you're going to do something and you have any integrity at all, you kind of have to do it. Otherwise, you're constantly going to hear that, hey, weren't you going to go to the moon? And you get tired of it. But if you're comfortable and look, you're not lying to anybody else, and you're not even really lying. I mean, if you say, I'm going to work out and get healthy, and you don't, it's okay. But it's not your friends that you're lying to. It's that guy that's in the mirror every morning when you brush your teeth and shave.
Yeah.
That's who you're lying to. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay with making that rationalization and saying, well, I'm not doing it because the gym's too far away or because okay. But if you're that kind of person, maybe you shouldn't say you're going to do stuff. But it's not hard. And that's kind of why I wrote the book, to kind of make the point to people that living a healthy lifestyle is not a chore. And there's a whole section of the book. There's something called the longevity movement, and not a lot of people know about it, but it's a bunch of rich people in Silicon Valley and guys like Ray Kurzweil, who invented, among other things, the electronic piano and things like that. But Aubrey de Grey and people like that. And ever since we've mapped the human genome, ever since we've been able to sort of see our genes and what's going on with them and see early in someone's life if they have the possibility of cancer or the possibility of heart disease, that because we can do that now, we should deal with that stuff early in people's lives. So if somebody at 28 years old, you can see that they have a tendency for heart disease, deal with it then. And gene splicing and all these other things. So these guys are now talking about how we can live to be 125 years old and still be playing tennis. They're trying to treat aging like a disease and cure it. There are places in the world called blue zones. And there's 7 of them in the world. And for some reason, people live to be more than 100, and they're still riding bikes and playing pickleball. A guy wrote a book about it called The Blue Zones. And when you look at how those people live, there's a lot of commonalities. Very strong community. They eat well. They drink in moderation. They exercise all the time. Loma Linda, California is actually one of the locations. There's one in Italy. There's one in South America. And there's a book actually called Immortality, Inc., which is a great book. But we have a lot of people now who are looking into the concept of growing older. There's another woman in Las Vegas. What is her name? I can't remember. I think her last name is Clark. She only ages 9 months for every year that she lives.
Wow.
So this woman is in her 50s, but she looks like she's in her 30s. And again, it's diet, it's exercise. There's a 70-year-old woman that ran the Boston Marathon this past week. She runs marathon. She's 70 years old. And it isn't like 6 hours. She's doing like under 3-hour times. There's another lady, it's my favorite. She's a former real estate agent. She's 82. She competes in weightlifting competitions, lifting 385 pounds. I'm sorry, 285 pounds. 83-year-old woman lifting 285 pounds. I could not lift 285 pounds if you helped me. So it's choices. This old lady can't lift all this weight for any other reason than she's simply decided this was what she's going to do.
Yeah.
She's going to lift barbells. And also I think a lot of it's your motivation too. The lady in Las Vegas who ages 9 months for every year that she lives, has a teenage son, and she's a single mom. So she wants to be there for her son as long as she can. So purpose. What is your purpose? And purpose helps you make choices, because if you have a strong purpose, then it's easier to say. I have a son. I want to be in my son's life as long as possible, and I want to be healthy while I'm there. So to me, it's easy. I don't want to die young because I have a kid and I want to be part of his life.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a child, maybe you have books to write, maybe you're trying to help some segment of the population do something. We're trying to cure some disease. You're trying to, social justice, racial justice, whatever it is. If you have a reason to do something, that's a great motivator for you to make choices. And if you say, I'm going to cure cancer, then you want to live forever until you cure cancer.
Yeah.
So if people have purpose, it's easier to make decisions. And the other thing, I always break it down to and purpose, and then also people. You have to surround yourself with people. You
Right.
can't isolate yourself. You can't shut yourself away. You have got to be in the flow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. Uh, I see. I this episode is really is really one of is a wake up call. Like a lot of persons, we've been lying to ourselves for a very long time. We've told ourselves we're going to do this, and we really want to do this. Well, our actions, the funny thing is that we judge ourselves by our intention, and then we judge others by the action. Like if we were to like examine ourselves, we would basically count ourselves as people that are not serious, and we don't have integrity. We don't do what we say we're going to do. Yet we live like that. We tell ourselves that I'm going to this year is going to be a year where I take my head seriously, and we don't do that. Well, thanks for this reminder.
You're welcome. And I once had a writing teacher that had us all write our obituary. And he said, okay, I want you to write your obituary about what you achieved in your life. And I was probably in my 30s when I wrote it. And he said, write it as if you're 80. Like write it as if you lived 50 more years. And when you do that, all of a sudden, because everybody wants to have a legacy. Everybody wants to be remembered. And if you sit down and say, well, he did nothing, it's embarrassing. So, that was another good motivator for me to say, okay, well, what are they going to say to me after I'm gone? And for my particular thing, I want to leave a body of work of writing that I've done. So I have this book, I have 2 or 3 other books. I'm in the process of writing other books, and producing some films and things like that. So I want to have left my tiny little footprint on this planet once I go, and hopefully it's for the good. Yeah, the book is funny. I make fun of myself, and I make fun of millennials, and I make fun of baby boomers, and that's all a part of it too. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this value, and I know that as much as I got value from it, my listeners they also got value from this episode. You talk about that you're a movie producer and you're writer. Where can we learn more about the books you've written and some of the movies you're producing, and just kind of like and check out all the stuff you're doing?
You can find, if you go to Amazon, and Feeling Groovy is the book. It's Feeling Groovy, Joe Owens. You look that one up, and then Amazon takes you to other stuff that I've written. Or I do have a website, which is Joe Owens Books, joeowensbooks.com, and I've written a couple of poetry books for kids. I wrote a book last year about mental health in the real estate business, because real estate agents have a lot of mental health challenges, isolation, anxiety, things like that. And I actually toured around and spoke to real estate companies, to them about trying to get their mental health, like self-care, and take care of yourself, and don't try to, just white knuckle your way through it. And then this book, Feeling Groovy, I have a couple of others. And then I also write, this is my fun stuff. So I go back to the 1800s in England, like Sherlock Holmes time and stuff like that. And I find crimes that were never solved. And I have a detective named Augustus Blythe, and I write the story of him solving the crimes. So these are real crimes from 19th century England that my guy tries to solve. And that's just, I do that for fun. Instead of playing golf, I write
So that's
detective
kind of
stories.
like your story. I said that's kind of like historical fiction.
Yeah, it is. It's his, historical fiction. I'm also working with some young writers who there were some great writers back during that time, but their writing has been lost because the language is difficult to understand, like the 18th century or 19th century language is hard to understand. So I have some young writers going back and rewriting those books in more contemporary language. And then I basically tell them that you're going to co-author the book with this writer that wrote it 150 years ago.
Yeah.
So both of their names go on the book, and I call them remastered mysteries.
Oh.
And it's great. Well, it's what's fun about it is that I had one young man who I got him to do it, and I tell them read the book and then write a letter to the writer. And the writer's been dead for 100 years. Write a letter to the writer and tell them what you'd like to do with their book. And then write the response for them back to you. Write the letter as them back to you. And then read everything you can about them and get to know them, talk to them. I had one, because I've done this myself and it's really kind of fun, but I had one guy call me at like 11:30 at night. And he said to me, I was working on the book and I reached a point where I was stuck and the writer showed up. He was there with me and he helped me. And he said, when you told me that, I thought you were crazy. And I said, no.
Yeah.
I said, that consciousness will exist way beyond time. Time is meaningless. So yes, he showed up and yes, he helped you because he wants you to finish that book.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And so they're fun things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for coming on the podcast and thanks for sharing.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sorry, you didn't hold back. You just gave us generously, and I really appreciate that.
Great. Well, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, information where to find me and everything is right on my website.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who would love the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.